Hello, everyone. Juxtaposition here. Top of the morning to you. Do get yourself one of these handsome juxtaposition mugs. See the information link below. All right. Today's video will be entitled The Hells Angels and Juxtaposition. That would be me. That would be me. And my numerous encounters with Sonny Barger and the Hells Angels. And Sonny Barger was the president of the Oakland, Alameda County chapter of the Hells Angels. Um, Despite the folklore, you should know that Sonny Barger did not found the Hells Angels. Okay, he may be the most famous, promoted by Hollywood and book authors, film, television shows, Sons of Anarchy. I think Sonny Barger is the most celebrated member of the Hells Angels military intelligence COINTELPRO organization. All right. Just like Jim Jones is the most famous People's Temple, which is also the same thing. Hells Angels, Church of Scientology, Hare Krishna, the Mormon Church, LDS, Joseph Smith, same exact role that Sonny Barger played. He was the head of the Alameda County, City of Oakland chapter of the Hells Angels. And you should know that the Hells Angels is an international organization, just like the Church of Scientology is, just like the LDS Mormon Church is, just like the Holy Catholic Church is, the Vatican City State. They're an international organization like the Hells Angels. The Hells Angels has over 6,000 members worldwide. They have over 592 chapters, and they're located in 66 hamlet districts. Some people think they're countries, but you learn on the Juxtaposition show there's no such thing as nations. There are no peoples, there are no religions, and there are no countries. There's strategic hamlets, okay, which includes the Lone Star State of Texas. That is a strategic hamlet. And you have banking districts for merchant exchange. So anyway, long story boring. 66, of course, is a Masonic number of strategic hamlets that the Hells Angels does business in. Here in California, we have a number of alternative motorcycle clubs. Motorcycle club is what the Hells Angels is known for. You should know that the City of Oakland, Alameda County chapter, that Sonny Barger was the president for decades, since he was 19 years old, selected for duty by the United States NATO forces since 1957. 1957, Sonny Barger was the namesake for the City of Oakland, Alameda County, Hells Angels chapter. All right. And it was incorporated. The clubhouse for the Hells Angels is 4019 Foothill Boulevard in East Oakland, California. I'm very familiar with the clubhouse because yours truly, as a boy, I grew up on Broadway Terrace, which is 6.5 miles to the northwest of the clubhouse. And I've been by the clubhouse many times because I used to purchase motorcycle parts on East 14th Street out there in East Oakland at Nelson Brothers. Nelson Brothers. I used to just salivate over the Husqvarnas over there. I bought some gloves and boots near the Hells Angels clubhouse. I never been inside the clubhouse, but I've been by it. Been by it. All right, so should know it's in close proximity to Bishop O'Dowd Catholic all boys school, where yours truly played the trumpet in the Catholic Youth Orchestra. Sonny Barger lived on Mountain Boulevard at the time that I was familiar with him. When I was living in Oakland, he lived on, he had two different residences on either side of Bishop O'Dowd Catholic High School. It was a high school. And I spent a lot of time at that high school performing in and rehearsing for concerts. And also, like I said, I used the motorcycle store down the hill. It's up on a hill. It's on a hillside. It's off of the Warren Freeway. The Warren Freeway, Highway 13. You might have heard of Earl Warren. He was the governor of California He was an assistant district attorney of Alameda County before that. And then he went on to become a Supreme Court Justice of the United States and lent his name to a false conclusion report called the Warren Report or the Warren Commission, which he had little to nothing to do with. And when the Warren Report was made public and all of its volumes printed and published, the freeway that had been previously known as the Mountain Boulevard Freeway, which is the road that Sonny Barger was given a free house on, the name was changed to the Warren Freeway in 1964. Upon the release of the Warren Commission, you should know that the Warren Freeway was named number 13, Highway 13, Unity Amongst Masons. Now, the name for the freeway actually was changed from the Mountain Boulevard Freeway to the Warren Freeway. I guess that was in 1957, which was the same year that Sonny Barger became associated with the Hells Angels, which he was only 19 years old. So essentially, Sonny Barger became the president of the Hells Angels when Earl Warren got a freeway. Are you with me? 1957. 1957. Then, when Earl Warren participated in a cover up of the Kennedy assassination, his freeway was upgraded to, how about 13? It was the connection of the Ashby Avenue um, Boulevard in Berkeley, California, and hooking it up and linking it with the Nolan Park Zoo, which was on Mountain Boulevard. And when they connected the dots, they changed the name to the Mountain Boulevard Freeway, then the Warren Freeway, then Highway 13. That's where we are today, Highway 13, unity amongst Masons. Everything I tell you in the story is going to emanate in and around Highway 13. Okay? Everything. And you should know that the Hells Angels aren't even 1 millimeter different than the other motorcycle clubs that functioned in Southern California, like the Mongols, the Jesse, the Steroid Body Ventura was in. That's United States Navy based off of Coronado Island in downtown San Diego. They had the Mongols. Jesse Ventura never he never went to Vietnam. He never participated in live combat. He's a chicken hawk. He's a chicken hawk. Jesse Ventura is a steroid Navy SEAL wrestler engaged in fake wrestling. It's fake. It's theatrical wrestling. It's not real wrestling. He was the gubernator of Minnesota. He was in Predator with Arnold Screw Your Freedom steroid Schwarzenegger in a film called Predator. And he's fake, right? But he was in a motorcycle club sponsored by NATO forces called the Mongols in San Diego County. The same thing in Los Angeles County. We had the Straight Satans out of Venice Beach, which is a military construct. That's where Arnold Schwarzenegger injected drugs and hormones so that he could become Mr. Universe in Venice Beach. That's where the Richard Glass hair design is located, and the Anne Heche purchase of a red wig is in Venice Beach, Venice, California. Military intelligence home to the Straight Satans. Danny DiCarlo was the president, pardon me, he was the treasurer of the Straight Satans Motorcycle Club, which worked with Lino LaBianca in the distribution of drugs and weapons throughout Los Angeles County. That's what Sonny Barger did in Alameda County and City of Oakland and other cities within the Alameda County district, which includes Berkeley, UC Berkeley. Absolutely, it does. Sonny Barger is also assigned to San Francisco with Hunter S. Thompson, who was assigned to San Francisco. Um, Sonny Barger was given a house in San Francisco, Haight-Ashbury. His house was number 715 Ashbury Street, Haight-Ashbury, California. Hunter S. Thompson was living there in that residence, 715 Ashby Street. Hunter S. Thompson, who was a graduate of Columbia University, General Studies, and was being groomed to become another F. Scott Fitzgerald, another Ernest Hemingway, another Henry Miller, groomed in the way that Joan Didion was, in the way that other military intelligence people who came before, like Jack London did, like Samuel Clemens, also known as Mark Twain, did. That's right. Hunter S. Thompson was on the same exact grooming path from the United States Air Force to Columbia University, where he was to be sent on field trips for military intelligence, become inspired, and then write books. Before he wrote Fear and Loathing in Las Vegas, Hunter S. Thompson was studying Tom Wolfe, Joan Didion, Norman Mailer, Truman Capote, um, Gay Talese, and of course F. Scott Fitzgerald and Ernest Hemingway was his icon. He even traveled to uh, to Idaho to study the alleged suicide of Ernest Hemingway. And what do you know? They blame the same thing on Hunter Stockton Thompson was shot in the head with a 45 pistol in Woody Creek outside of Aspen, Colorado, in exactly the same way that Ernest Hemingway was killed. Hunter S. Thompson was killed. How ironic is that? But it's not a surprise if you know that he worked for military intelligence. He started in the Air Force, then he was sent to Columbia University, and then he was sent out to Glen Ellen in Sonoma County, where he began taking amphetamines in 1964. And then from 1965, he was working with Sonny Barger in San Francisco Bay Area operations to oppose the um, the draft dodgers and conscription protesters of the Vietnam War. That's right. That's why Hunter S. Thompson was dispatched to San Francisco in 1965. It was to for counterintelligence operations involving the Hells Angels. You know, the Hells Angels are, on one hand, painted as anarchists, but in fact, fly American flags and use the similar colors of the American flag with their Hells Angels of red and white and black. They're a satanic organization with the name Hells Angels, which was really made famous by Howard Hughes in a film that he produced in 1930 regarding World War I pilots, which were named the Hells Angels. World War I fighter pilots, the Hells Angels. Then later we had Charles Older, who was the hanging judge for the Manson family. He was flying for the Republic of China out of Burma in between boxing heroin, opium products. You do know that Burma is a production facility for opium and heroin. And that is where the judge, who first he was an OSS officer, Office of Special Services in 1939, 1940, before Pearl Harbor, and he's shooting down Japanese planes when they attacked China. And he's flying under the flag of China. You have an American OSS, soon to be judge, and he is a number three ace pilot shooting down Japanese planes out of Burma. Okay, and that was part of the Flying Tigers. In other words, the judge that sentenced Charlie Manson to the gas chamber was a Hell's Angel himself. He was a Flying Tiger ace, number three, shot down the third most Japanese planes before Pearl Harbor. Okay, and Howard Hughes produced a film entitled The Hells Angels in 1930, before Pearl Harbor. Okay, Sonny Barger, he wasn't even born until, let me give you a little bit of background on my man. His name is Ralph. I personally met with him about a half dozen times in my life, had the pleasure of spending time with him, mostly as a customer for my motorcycle store where I was employed at a motorcycle store. Hunter S. Thompson was born October 8th, 1938. See, so he couldn't have founded the Hells Angels because he wasn't born yet. I mean, the first time it was entered into the lexicon of terms was Howard Hughes, who is a military contractor, who has Hughes Space and Communications and the Hughes Airplane Company that has contracts with NATO forces. Or before NATO was formed, he was a military contractor. using the Hughes Tool Company that his father founded. That's for military purposes. You know that the military uses half of all the oil products that are dug out with Hughes tools, tool billets and drills. Ralph Hubert Barger Jr., he was born in Modesto, California. I'm very familiar with that, Central California. That's an agricultural area. And he was born in Modesto in 1938. He's the son of Catherine and Ralph Hubert Barger Sr. His father was German and Dutch. His mother was Italian. His mother left the family when Sonny Barger was only 4 months old, leaving him with abandonment issues and spending time with his older sister Shirley, and will be then raised by their Pentecostal grandmother and his somewhat absent alcoholic father, Ralph Hubert Barger Sr. So you see, things began kind of rocky for Sonny Barger. He was born in Modesto. His mother abandoned him before he really got to know her within 4 months. He then moved to the Port of Oakland, to the Oakland Army Base area of West Oakland Port Facility, where his alcoholic father was a day laborer on the Port of Authority of Oakland, Alameda County. And so Sonny Barger grew up in West Oakland during post-war era of World War II. That was when he, grew up. Remember, he was born in 1938, and he was only age 6 when World War II ended, 6 or 7 years old, and his childhood really began at the conclusion of World War II. And his formative years were there in the Port of Oakland, in West Oakland, at the Oakland Army Base, which was very active at the time of Sonny Barger. You should know that, of course, since it's right under his nose, the Oakland Army Base, he enrolled in the United States Army whilst he was in high school. And they accepted him at age 16. They didn't know he was 16. He lied on his application, and they'll just believe anything, right? So Sonny Barger lied on his application to join the United States Army. They accepted him, and they didn't audit his application until 14 months when they realized he was only 17 years old. They gave him an honorable discharge, and after 14 months of duty with the United States Army, they enrolled him in 1955. They expelled him. And quick like a bunny rabbit, what do you know? Army intelligence came calling. They kicked him out of the uniform part of the Army, but they enrolled him at age 19 to be the president of a new motorcycle club, which was the consolidation of multiple other motorcycle clubs from Sacramento and San Francisco, which were formulated in Point Richmond, which is a port authority north of Berkeley, California, very close to Berkeley, California. And that club was then assigned to Sonny Barger. Then it was repositioned to City of Oakland in East Oakland at the address, which has been there for 60 years, the address of 4019 Foothill Boulevard, East Oakland. And that's really in 1957 that the Nomads and some other clubs were renamed the Oakland Alameda chapter of the Hells Angels on April 1st, April Fool's Day, like Stu Peters' birthday. April Fool's Day, 1957, the Hells Angel Oakland Alameda chapter was born, with Sonny Barger, age 19, anointed as the leader of the club. It's a motorcycle club. That hopefully dispels some notions here that, there are people like George Christie and other people in other Hells Angels chapters. The Hells Angels official story is that they were begun out of Norton Air Force Base in San Bernardino County after World War II ended, like 1947, 48. The Hells Angels concept was born. But that's not really true. I already told you it existed for decades before that in Hollywood films and books, and the idea of Hell's Angels and the fallen angel of God this is a satanic concept that goes back, 2,000 years. It goes with Christianity. In 1956, Sonny Barger joined what's called the Oakland Panthers. There was also a company club in Sacramento called the Nomads, and the Nomads merged with the Oakland Panthers and became the Hells Angels chapter, one chapter of many chapters. I told you they have 592 chapters. So Sonny Barger is definitely, in my opinion, he's the most legendary and famous Hells Angel member of all time, but he's only one of 592 chapters, and he's only one of 6,000 members. So let's put that in perspective. Hollywood has star making, star power, promotion ability second to no one. They can take a little girl by the name of Gump and turn her into Judy Garland. Then they can put her down like a sick dog in West London in the Mayfair district. All right. So Sonny Barger is not really the founder of the Hells Angels as most people think he was. He was selected by the United States Army and the intelligence services to be infiltrated into an organization that is marketed as being anarchists, but they're really conservative Republicans wearing leather coats and sporting tattoos and driving Harley Davidson, which is an American owned motorcycle company, when the rest of the world is riding BSAs, Triumphs, Nortons, and Kawasaki's, Let the Good Times Roll, and Hondas. But there's Sonny Barger supporting American made junk motorcycles. Now, Harley Davidsons are really good at flat track, and they're pretty terrible at everything else. They just don't go around twisty corners very well. They turn left pretty good, but they're not good at going right. They can't turn right. Anyway, there are many, many characters involved with the Hells Angels, and I'm not going to get into them here. I just want you to know in Southern California, you had the Straight Satans and the Satan Slaves of San Fernando Valley, and you had the Mongols down there in San Diego. And Jesse Ventura did not found the Mongols. But all the motorcycle clubs, including Sonny Barger's chapter in Oakland, California, they all distributed drugs, including LSD, amphetamines, and heroin, and weapons, like bayonets and stiletto daggers and pistols, 9 millimeters, AR-15 rifles, rocket-propelled grenades, rocket-propelled launchers, and these weapons were typically kept in boxes in garages of club members. Sonny Barger having his garage almost completely full of boxes of United States NATO equipment. In other words, United States Army, NATO, and the people from the Army would restock the products in Sonny's garage. That shouldn't surprise you that an operative would have weapons in their garage. They're required to. They don't want them in their garage because then, of course, the FBI or the Sheriff's Department can come over and arrest them, which from time to time did happen. But you should know that the Alameda County Sheriff is a full partner of Sonny Barger and the Hells Angels, and they split the revenue that they're earning on the drug trafficking and the weapons trafficking. And that's why you should know that 99% of the time when Sonny Barger is living in Oakland, he's not in prison, he's not under arrest, and he is exempt from arrest because the district attorney, which Earl Warren was once an employee of them, and the sheriff's department, who runs the jail, they do not arrest Hells Angels. It's a hands-off policy. Anyway, there are stories in 1965 during what's called Vietnam Day. Vietnam Day Committee had a march in downtown Oakland, and of course, it was crashed by members of the Hells Angels, Sonny Barger, and Cliff, otherwise known as Skip Workman, Heine Walker, who is 6'5" tall. Heine is huge. Then we have Ron Jacobson and Tom Thomas, and they apparently got into fisticuffs in November 1965 with the Oakland Municipal Police Department. when they called the protesters of the Vietnam War a mob of traitors. That's what Sonny Barger was quoted as saying about the Vietnam Day committee, who was anti-war. He said they were a mob of traitors. Now, I don't believe Sonny Barger actually said that, but that's how it was written up. In other words, you have this anarchist motorcycle gang who's taking the position that they're aligned with Lyndon Baines Johnson and they're aligned with the Gulf of Tonkin declaration of an emergency status, and we're going to have a 10-year war in Vietnam, which is really a military research experiment, and that the Hells Angels are pro, Vietnam, anti-communists. They're pro-America. They're pro 13-stripe American flag. Sonny Barger's living on a free house on Highway 13. He's living on Highway 13. He flies a 13-striped American flag just like any clueless person in Texas might. If you're flying a flag and pledging your allegiance to a 13-striped Swiss flag, you have lost your way. Oh, you have lost your way. All right, so now I'm going to flip the script to that's the setting the table. Now I'm going to tell you about my involvement with the Hells Angels. So it started out when I was going to university, and of course I needed money. I had to work my way through college. I worked 3 of 4 years. I did take my fourth year off once I had secured a permanent job at Ernst and Ernst in San Francisco and had their uh, acceptance letter in hand. I then decided to focus on my studies my last year in school, my senior year, so that I could enjoy my experience instead of working my brains out and doing homework all the time. Also was focused on passing the CPA exam, so I needed to align my time. But during the 3 years that I was going to university, I was working at motorcycle stores. First, I worked in Campus Suzuki by UC Berkeley, very close to Sather Gate. I was only a few blocks from Berkeley High School, which is only a few blocks from Sather Gate and People's Park. So I was working kind of in that area. And then I switched over. I got a job with 20% salary increase um, and more hours in Oakland at East Bay Honda at 3060 Broadway. And they opened on they made a maverick decision. There were no motorcycle stores open on Sunday because typically on Sunday you go racing, right? On any Sunday, you go racing motorcycles. But our motorcycle store was focused on selling Hondas. We did have a Triumph franchise that we lost that, and we were just selling Hondas. And most of our customers didn't race, so they were, weekender types. So we decided to be open on Sunday from 10 a.m. until 4 p.m. And of course, I was the new guy, so I had to work on Sundays, which I was happy about the money, but I did want to race motorcycles. So this put a dent in my motorcycle racing. But since I was really focusing on my professional accounting career, I had to focus on, what was best for passing the CPA exam. So I had one other person. I had a salesperson downstairs. I'm on the mezzanine level of the building. You have to understand it's on a hillside, and we have a service department downstairs in the basement. The sales showroom is on the street level of Broadway. We have the Blue Book bar and saloon next door. They cater to the automobile dealerships, hence the name the Blue Book. What is the Blue Book? For the trade-in value of my car. They have a bar. It was adjacent to my saloons where I learned to play liar's dice. I was taught to play liar's dice at the Blue Book Saloon and Bar, adjacent, sharing the wall with my motorcycle store, East Bay Honda. Anyway, I'm on there. It's kind of dead. There, we didn't have a lot of customers. Nobody thought we were open, really. We didn't do any real good marketing, but we did have some customers come in. Typically, the way it worked is if there's nothing going on for an hour, I'd call Round Table Pizza, have a pizza delivered. The moment that the pizza would show up, 10 customers would walk in. So by the time I finished servicing all the customers, the pizza was ice cold. And this was like 1977, and we didn't have a microwave oven, so it was cold pizza. Anyway, one day I was there up at the counter atop the ramp, in the mezzanine, and two Harley Davidson motorcycles pull up. I believe it was Tiny Walker and Sonny Barger, who only stands 5'3". Sonny Barger's 5'3", and Tiny Walker's like 6'5", 6'4", and bald head. And quite a pair they make, a juxtaposition. They walk in, they walk straight across the sales showroom. They're not interested in any Honda motorcycles. They walk up the ramp, and I greet them, asking how may I help them. So anyway, long story boring, I sold Sonny Barger some screws and nuts and bolts. He was looking for bolts. He was doing a project in his garage over there on Mountain Boulevard, which is approximately, if you're wondering, it's about 6.5 miles distance from the store is where he lives. So about 6 miles away. And the clubhouse is the same distance. So I think I sold him some chain lube and WD-40 also. Anyway, he once he knew that we were open, he began coming back, and then I got to know him a little better. And after a few times, coming back and having me help him in a professional, competent manner, he he invited me on a Hells Angels motorcycle ride on a Sunday afternoon. And he asked what time I got off. I said 4. He goes, okay, that's perfect. We're going to go at 5, and I'll see you at the Giant Burger on Redwood Road and Mountain Boulevard in Oakland, down the hill from Merritt College, which is a military intelligence recruiting center, if you didn't know. I believe Huey Newton went there. He also went to Laney College. Those are the community colleges in and around the city of Oakland. But Sonny Barger lived down the hill from Merritt College, and he lived next door to the Oak Knoll Veterans Hospital, which is on a dead-end cul-de-sac where they actually stop Mountain Boulevard. They truncate it, so you couldn't get to Sonny Barger's house from the Giant Burger. You have to jump on Highway 13, 2 exits, and then get off the freeway there at trying to remember Skyline Boulevard, or that's not the exit, but Golf Links Road. You exit at Golf Links Road, and then you double back on the east side of the freeway, and Sonny Barger is like the 10th house on the right, just before Oak Knoll Hospital, Veterans Hospital. So he told me, he, meaning Sonny Barger, whose real name is Ralph, he told me not to tell anyone that he came in to the Honda dealership to purchase parts. Because he goes, you're going to meet some of my cohorts, and I don't want them to know how we met. So don't tell them that I go shop at a Honda dealership, because we're supposed to just be Harley Davidson centric, right? But the answer, of course, is because my store is the only one in Oakland that's open on Sunday. That's the only reason he came in. But that's how I met Sonny Bargers, because I was open and everybody else was closed. Anyway, approximately 5 p.m., I went over to the Giant Burger place, and met Sonny Barger with about oh, 8 to 10 other guys that I had never met them before. They're all on Harley Davidsons with the chopper forks, which are not very good idea. And some of them were having French fries and a milkshake and having a snack. Today, that place is called Sparky's Giant Burgers. I don't believe it was called Sparky's Giant Burgers. It was called Giant Burgers, and most of their business came from the students from Merritt Junior College, City College up the hill. It'd be a real easy place to get a meal after your classes or before, because they had night classes also. Anyway, that was the meeting place for the motorcycle ride. It's the bottom of a really steep hill. You should know that. And anyway, about 5:15, we headed out. I'm riding a Honda CB 750 5-speed motorcycle, and I would not call the motorcycle I was on a performance bike, but I wouldn't call Sonny Barger's bike or any of the other characters. Their bikes are very dangerous, to tell you the truth. Our route was to go to Tilden Park and Lake Anza, and then return through Orinda and Moraga, which you should know, people, is extremely twisty, hilly, mountainous, road with a lot of off-camber corners and really not suitable to the Harley Davidsons at all. When we left the parking lot area of the Giant Burgers, and there's a Safeway grocery store in there, there's a dry cleaners in there. Today there's a Hunan Chinese restaurant, and there's a Japanese sushi bar in there. But this is a big parking lot. It's mostly empty on a Sunday afternoon at 5 o'clock. And we head out and we turn left onto Redwood Road. It's a 2 lane, it's actually a 4 lane. There's 2 lanes going up the hill to the Merritt College area and 2 lanes coming down the hill from Skyline Boulevard. We were heading up the hill to Skyline Boulevard, which of course is at the ridgeline of the Oakland Hills. And I noticed that these Hells Angels were very disciplined. They fanned out into two up, two people abreast, and they were in the slow lane. They weren't in the fast lane, they were in the slow lane, the right lane. And they were going, 25 to 30 miles an hour up this hill. I think the speed limit was 35, so I guess we probably cranked it up to 35. We weren't speeding. Going up the hill, went past Campus Drive. We had no intention of going to the college. Kept going, and we come up to Skyline Boulevard. We move over to the left lane, make the left-hand only corner onto Skyline Boulevard. We go uphill on that until the road changes to Joaquin Miller Road. We turn hard right, 90-degree right, to continue on Skyline Boulevard, where again we hit a series of U-turn hairpins, continue past the Chabot Observatory, which I don't think had been constructed then. This is 1977, 1978, in the summertime. And so the days are going to be lit until about 8:45 or so. It's 5:20 p.m. This ride is going to take under 2 hours. So everyone's going to be home before the sun ever sets on this ride. I was only going to go as far as Moraga. Then I was going to go visit my parents. So I started in Oakland and I rode 7 miles over to meet Sonny at the Giant Burger. Then I was going to go do an extra 2 miles when we ended the ride at Jack in the Box in the town of Moraga. And my parents live about 2 miles from there. So I was going to say so long to him. That was the plan. And I told him that I'll pull off in Moraga. And he told me we're going to go to Grizzly Peak, the steam trains, use the men's room, and get some water. And then we're going to go to Kensington and Wildcat Canyon, Lake Anza, and then down to San Pablo Dam Road, which then we're going to turn right, go to the Orinda Village. The road, it becomes Camino, El Camino, or Camino Pablo Road. Then it becomes Moraga Way. When we enter the past the Orinda Theater, it becomes Moraga Way. And we took that past Miramonte High School and continued up to the intersection of Moraga Road and Moraga Way. We were on Moraga Way. Moraga Way and Moraga Road on the right side is a Jack in the Box. And that's where we concluded our ride. I said goodbye, and he went right to take Pinehurst and Canyon back to his domain in over by Oaknell Hospital. I went east on Moraga Road, 2 miles to my parents' home. That's my story, and I'm sticking with it. So anyway, want you to know that Sonny Barger was a total gentleman. I've included a video below that you can see that is the mirror image of the ride that I took with him. This film was taken in 1969. My ride was performed about 8 years to 9 years later, 1977, 1978. I'm not really sure. It was the summertime. I think it was either spring or summer. And we rode together. The ride distance that I did was about 40 miles total. I rode 28 of the 40 miles with Sonny Barger alongside him at the back. He was riding at the back. And I'm here to tell you they don't ride side by side when I was with them on Skyline Boulevard like you might see in this film. We were going faster. There's no way a Harley Davidson can make those turns except in single file. And even that's a little sketchy. So I ended up passing a lot of these guys in the corners because they were actually going slow compared to my motorcycle. which even though it wasn't really a race bike, was much more better handling than theirs. Don't forget, I was an intermediate motorcycle racer. I was 17, 18 years old, and I'd already won a dozen motorcycle races, and none of these guys had ever raced a motorcycle, let alone won a race. And I'd advanced up, from novice to intermediate and was on my way to be expert, except that I wasn't racing much because I was focusing on the CPA exam. And that was something that was always frustrating to me because, of course, I would rather be racing my motorcycle on Sunday. But, there's money and there's other obligations that one must make in order to pay for your apartment and food on the table. So that's my video for today. I hope you enjoyed it. I want to tell you that Sonny Barger was a gentleman. All the other Hells Angels were gentlemen. I did ask Sonny Barger if he worked for free beer at the Altamont concert. He denied that. He said they worked for cash. And I want you to know that the Altamont concert maybe had 5 to 6,000, spectators. There was a free concert. If you read that there were 300,000 people there, just know it's made for television. George Lucas videotaped the murder of Meredith Hunter that day. Sonny Barger was in charge of a 40-person Hells Angel crew for security for Mick Jagger and the Rolling Stones around the stage. They only guarded the stage. They didn't guard the entire speedway. The speedway is actually pretty small. The racetrack is really small. The paved racetrack is in a bowl. The stage was in a bowl. Ray Slick was there. Neil Young was there. Jerry Garcia was there. They didn't perform. They didn't perform. I think Grace Slick did. Maybe Grace Slick sang. But I know that Neil Young did not sing, and Jerry Garcia did not sing or play any music at Altamont. But he was there. It's a required thing. And you should know that Sonny Barger was 31 years old at that time, and Hunter S. Thompson was assigned to him to, promote his gonzo journalism folklore. That Sonny Barger is a lot like Hunter S. Thompson, even though Hunter S. Thompson is Air Force, Sonny Barger is Army. They didn't necessarily like each other because, Sonny Barger didn't go to college, and Hunter S. Thompson graduated from Columbia University in New York. So they're kind of oil and water, to tell you the truth. And also, just like F. Scott Fitzgerald, just like Ernest Hemingway, just like Joan Didion, Hunter S. Thompson is, military intelligence fake book author. In other words, he's not writing the material that he really wants to write. Don't forget that he was assigned to the O'Farrell Theater and the Mitchell Brothers for pornography and nude dancing down there in the Castro district of San Francisco. And that was going on also. He wasn't just assigned to the Hells Angels. He was assigned to the Mitchell Brothers and pornography also, okay? Which is one of the Haight-Ashbury Project entities. He's working with Bill Graham, okay? Bill Graham. And Bill Graham is kind of an intermediate age. Bill Graham is like 38 years old at the time of the Altamont concert. Ted Kaczynski is the same age as Abigail Folger. He's 26 years old. Sonny Barger's 31 years old. Hunter S. Thompson is 1 year older than Sonny Barger. He's 32 years old. And he's working with eventually the Mitchell Brothers and pornography. And he's working with the Hells Angels doing gonzo journalism. Charlie Manson is 34 years old. Vincent Bugliosi is 35 years old. Charlie Manson and Vincent Bugliosi are just a few months different in age. Um, and then you've got Timothy Leary. He's there too, but he's 49. So you see, he's like adult supervision. But you know what? Someone's above him. Abigail's mother, Enos Mejia, she's 65. Abigail Folger's mother is the boss of Timothy Leary, who's United States West Point Academy graduate, military intelligence. Tune in, turn on, drop out. Timothy Leary. So I had no idea that the Hells Angels were really no different than the Hare Krishnas. They're not any different than the Mongols. They're not any different than George Christie. They're not any different than the Hells Angels that operate in United Kingdom or Australia. They're all doing the exact same things. They're in counterintelligence, and they do woke messaging. They're in drugs and weapon distribution on behalf of NATO, on behalf of the CIA. And the idea that they're a criminal organization, of course, is absurd. The Chicago outfit, the Hells Angels, the FBI, the CIA, NATO, they're in the same criminal organization. They're all the same. The mafia, the five crime families in New York, they're not a millimeter's worth of difference between the five crime families of New York, okay, and Paul Castellano or Tony or Curdo of the Chicago outfit and Carlos Marcello in New Orleans or Santos Tropicante in Tampa, Florida. They're all the same. Ben Siegel, Johnny Roselli, William Colby, Alan Dulles, John Dulles, Wild Bill Donovan. They're all part of a Geneva global governance mafioso. You got it? Get it? Good. Now what you just need is your Juxtaposition 1 mug to put it all together and connect all those dots, those nodes on the network. Do like and share my videos because I am heavily shadow banned if you didn't know. Bye now.